Pete Hegseth, who gives off very, I'm an abuser energy. He went to Shangri-La Dialogue, which is this track 1.5 multilateral defense ministerial meeting that happens in Asia. It's Asia's premier multilateral defense arrangement. Track 1.5 because it's like a blend of think tankers and reporters and shills for the defense industry with government officials. So government officials show up, ministers of defense show up, they make their speeches, they meet each other, they do arms deals, literally, and then they go home. And then the pundits who are invited are people who basically launder what's happening as if it served useful purposes. Very elitist, very insular, very kind of like disconnected from reality. A bunch of stuff to say about this, and some of it ties to New Zealand, which I'm going to get to in 1 second. But in order to kind of like frame out what we're dealing with the United States, or like to characterize US foreign policy properly, which nobody is doing for some reason, I wanted to show one quick clip of Hegseth's speech at the Shangri-La Dialogue, where he outlines a totally farcical global primacy fantasy in a way that I find very validating of my analysis, but that is like at odds with how almost everyone in the foreign policy community is portraying the US.
As the national security strategy and the national defense strategy direct, our approach in the Pacific centers on deterrence by denial along the first island chain. Now, we are reestablishing the Monroe Doctrine, the Donroe Doctrine, as I like to call it, in the Western Hemisphere, aggressively defending our homeland and our hemisphere. We will protect our people. But if you look at our department's planning guidance and our budget, we're building a team capable of projecting power, a country capable of projecting power anywhere in the world, most especially here. We will build and sustain a strong denial defense in the Western Pacific that ensures aggression is infeasible, escalation unattractive, and war deemed irrational. Our military posture will be resilient, distributed, and optimized to deny quick, decisive gains through military force. This is the logic of strategy. And it's the essence of peace through strength, and the foundation of a durable peace in the Pacific that benefits all of us. We all benefit from such a policy because our quiet but clear strength will lead to stability and peace.
What a fucking loser. There's like, I could spend an hour dissecting the hollowness of what he was saying and like the way that he was using almost his entire set of vocabulary words there. He was saying them to signify things that were the opposite of what these words are supposed to mean. I'm not going to go into that right now. It might be fun to have a little discursive, critical unpacking of this stuff at some point. But the reason I'm showing that is because he's describing very explicitly. He's telling you, he's saying it out loud. There's no way that you can deny it at this point, that the US is actively implementing an imperialist doctrine that covers an entire hemisphere and saying explicitly military superiority in the first island chain, which is again using China as the pacing threat for $1.5 trillion war machine. Plus, he doesn't address it because it's Asia, but the US policy under Trump for the Middle East remains that the foremost goal is Israeli primacy in the Middle East, which is the sort of framework justifying like the Iran war and everything else it fucking does, right? So you add all that shit up, Israeli primacy in the Middle East, military superiority in the first island chain, overt imperialism in Latin America. That's global primacy, dude. It's delusional. It's what the 2025 national security strategy, it says it like that global primacy was Biden Obama shit and that they're not doing that. But like you heard what he just said, if you're doing hemispheric domination and military superiority on the other side of the planet against the second largest power in the world system, and you're underwriting the primacy of your single best buddy in another region, that's global primacy. You're trying to dominate fucking everywhere. And you're doing it primarily militarily. That's global primacy. So every fucking think tanker who talks about the US, whether it's a foreign country's think tanker or Washington think tanker, when they talk about US foreign policy, they they avoid describing it as a global primacy project now. They use when the word primacy comes up at all, domination, they use it to almost like signify Biden era or Obama or Trump 1.0. But this is explicitly what's still happening. Okay. Part of why that matters is because that puts America on the wrong side of like everything, right? It's part of my analysis for like why we're crashing out so badly, because primacy is a mode that is mismatched with the moment where the global distribution of power is multipolar. Primacy is a strategy for a unipolar world. And so violence gets thrown off when those two things are mismatched, right? So that's something that's going on that's important to not lose sight of.